abandoned now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I remember looking at that. There, I guess that and like parking was an issue too, because it was like bordered up to residential, right? And then I was just street parking, which is typical in Royal Oak, right? Wow.
Yeah, you wouldn't want that with seniors. So, and that just wasn't my thing. I was looking for multifamily. So,
yeah,
that deal didn't come to fruition. Looking at another one now, I haven't looked at Detroit, but there's one in Midtown area. I've looked at a building that's off-market deal and trying to see what that's worth, and if the numbers work out, great.
Now, how many units is that? Is that pretty good size?
Just a 10 unit. It's not very big. I mean, I was shocked. I toured down there. I don't know if any of you guys have looked at Detroit, but it's like in like the depends where you're in Detroit, obviously. Detroit is a broad statement, but looked at something like the Linwood area, 35 unit apartment building, completely needs to be rehabbed for like 35 grand they want. I mean, but it's just it's in Linwood, which is not the best area. And then there's like towards Midtown, and it gets really expensive real quick. So,
well, yeah, I guess in Midtown, is that where the theater is in Hockey Town?
Yep. Yeah, you're getting closer to all the really nice restaurants, really nice bars. Wayne State got some really nice areas in Midtown, but further north, in New Center is kind of a nice in between. I don't know if anybody's had experience with there, but they seem to be appreciating pretty good with prices. And then you go further north, and then it's just, you can surely get stuff cheap, but renting it out might be an issue. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of that is to do with the gentleman with Quicken Loans. He's gone down there just a ton of money, and rehab those buildings and just, put tenants in before he's even got the contract signed, which is, that's 90% of the dig right there is getting tenants in those bad boys, especially the retail stuff. So,
yeah,
interesting. All right, how you doing, David? Looking good, man.
Yep, hanging in there.
Getting that Bronco launched. We're going to see it in the showrooms soon, or is it not going to be delayed? Is it?
So we got a meeting tomorrow morning to figure that out, because our next build, I think, is next week. And just about everyone on the program's on vacation, so I'm not sure who's going to be building these parts. So we'll figure it out.
Well, at least it's like a Friday, or it's what, at the beginning of hunting season. That was always a fun time in the plant. Nobody showed up. We had PPP builds and stuff. We'd have people, just put the stuff together. We'll get it at the end of the line. No big deal.
That's how I'm doing it right now.
Somehow it all works for some. It's amazing, but it does. It really does. So it's crazy. Awesome. And I see Jim's here. I don't know if he's actually here or not, but has anybody got anything they want to share? Anything they're working on? Any questions for the group? Nothing, huh? Goodness gracious.
I have one question.
Sure.
There was somebody in the group, and I can't remember who, hooked up with a gentleman like in Alabama who did new construction loans, usually high dollar stuff. And I cannot think of the name of who stated that and who the guy was. It was like, he had some pretty good rates, good loan to value ratios. And it was like 2 or 3 meetings ago. And
a mortgage broker?
Yeah. No, he was a loan. He basically was like an equity guy who does loans. It sounded like he wasn't a bank. It wasn't a bank. It was a person.
Oh, yeah. I think Pat Winter said that.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that in my email. Because we were talking about loans. He does private or like hard money loans, but they were really hard because the numbers. Okay. Yeah, let me see. Let me write that down. Let me get that to you. I'm trying to think of the guy's name off the top of my head, and then I want to be.
Yeah, I could not remember the name, and so I wrote it down somewhere, and now I can't find it. So
yeah, no problem. I'll look at my emails. But that's good. Yeah. I always got to have a few guys to do that. Now, are you looking outside of the state, Mark, or are you basically staying within Michigan?
No, I'm staying within Michigan. I saw, was there some deal in Georgia or something you have going on, or
yeah,
you guys going on?
Yep. I've got a couple of them going on in Georgia. just put an LOI on one in Georgia today. It's a 104 unit in Augusta, Georgia. So we're working through that one. So I've got another brokers may have some other off market ones coming up in the next couple months here too. So yeah, it's a good area. Augusta's a real good area. I've looked in Georgia before, mostly Atlanta. So I knew kind of what to look for in that area, but Augusta and Macon are the two areas that I'm looking at now. I'm still looking in Michigan as well, but it just seems that these are popping up a little quicker than here in Michigan as far as, deals. I still look here in Michigan, but just trying to make stuff pencil. I mean, not that these pencil any different. I mean, I've been working on this one probably about a week more so. And today we just found out it may be a loan assumption. So now I got to go through the gyrations of that and see if that's a way to do it or not. Because the seller has a big prepayment penalty. So now I got to go back to the lender and say, okay, how do we work this? But yeah, and it's just, the stuff is just, it just kind of popped up and just taking it. So I just got to go where I can go. I mean, it's just like when in Michigan, you just do enough of the SDAs or the analysis and you see what happens. I mean, it's just, just got to keep doing them.
How does that work? A loan assumption. I've seen, in the multifamily, a lot of, and I'm, just curious how that works. So obviously you're assuming the loan, but if you take it over, you've got to pay hit their prepayment penalty, or that's got to be negotiated out. There is a prepayment penalty then.
Yeah, what it is if we buy it outright with a new loan, he'll pay between $400,000 and $500,000 because he got the loan in 2017. Okay. During a refinance. So there's a prepayment penalty if he sells it before 2027. So he has to price it with that in mind. So what that does is it goes from, let's say $10 a door. Now with the prepayment penalty there, now it's at $50 a door, right? Because he's got to make up his money because he's not going to lose that money. He's got to make. So what we're doing is, we can do an assumption. We would take over, it's like a brand new loan, basically. It's the same underwriting and stuff like that. But what we do then is discount that $500,000. Again, let's say he wanted $50 a door for it, right? Well, we take, whatever that loan amount is divided by the penalty divided by the units, and that gives us so we take that off the 50. So we all drive the price down because he's not going to get that, right? We're not going to pay more for that. So that's what you do. So now we're in the stages of comparing the two, meaning comparing a new loan from an agency at 3.7%, 30-year fixed. This one over here is 3.9, 30-year fixed, but it ends at 2027. We're not planning on keeping the property that long. So that all plays into.
Loan is at 3.99.
I'm sorry.
So his existing loan is 3.9.
Yep, 3.98.
Well, that's not that bad.
It really isn't. And the biggest thing is trying to figure out the amount of capital we'd have to bring for the whole deal with a new loan or with this, right? Because we put the LOI in lower because of the comps in the area and stuff like that. And in talking with a broker today, the assumption came out. I'm like, oh, well, that would have been nice to know in the OM, but that's why they priced it above where we think it should be, because he has this big prepayment. I said, well, what else can we do? And then that's when he brought it up. So we just got to figure out now. I got to go back to Old Capital and see, okay, hey, what would it take to do this? And then we also need to figure out, to answer your question, Mark, is the lender are they going to let us assume it? They may not. They may say, no, we want our money, or, why should we take this with you guys? We don't know. So that's the process we have to follow. We'll have to, again, same thing as a new loan. And for my sponsor, it's no big deal to him. It really isn't, but it's just a matter of the costs. Like,
is it, but if you assume, their loan, do you still, they don't pay there's not a prepayment penalty?
No, there's no, that goes away because you're basically slipping in their shoes.
Right.
So for the broker, or I should say the mortgage person, the holder, they're still going to get their checks. It's just now coming from, our group instead of his group. That's it. So that prepayment penalty goes away. So what we're doing is that premium that he's put on for the price, well, we're going to deduct that because he doesn't have, nobody has to pay that, right? So now we take that off the price by like $500,000, which, is pretty substantial.
Yep.
But we'll have to see. And we just found out today, and we'll get with the Old Capital here tomorrow and see, is it beneficial for us to do the assumption, or is it beneficial for us just to go get a new loan? Like Derek said, I mean, we can get one at 3.70. This is 3.9. It's 30-year fixed. I mean, it's basically the same, right? I mean,
it's not bad. It's crazy that we're talking about 3.98 being, or whatever it was, 3.89 being a high rate. That's
I know, isn't it?
That's pretty darn good. So
it is. So, and again, we'll have to see what, is the lender going to let us do it? I'm assuming they are, because they're telling people about it. But again, don't know who the lender is. What are the takeouts? What are some of the costs we're going to have to take, to take this loan out? What are the fees? But my preliminary numbers are showing that it would be beneficial on our side because we're bringing less capital to the deal, right? Because we're not going way up into the north side, let's say 50 a door, when we really want to be down here at 43 a door. So it just depends. And knowing that, you got kind of a little bargaining chip that a lot of people may just walk away from it because they don't know the assumption, because it was supposed to be in the OM, but it's not. But it seems like a good deal. I mean, if I remember right off the top of my head, it's probably going to reduce our at least our loan costs by almost $500 to $1 million. So I got to figure out, and then I got to figure out, the fee to obviously to do the assumption, because there are going to be assumption fees, which I'm assuming is not going to be. It's probably going to have a new appraisal, because that one is done in 2017. But, as far as all the other stuff that you would pay in closing costs, probably minimized, because they already have the loan. They're just kind of vetting the sponsor, right? So you're not doing environmental, you're not doing all the other title work, all that kind of stuff. You're more or less just, the sponsor is going to be the one that's going to be, combed through things, and they're going to compare, okay, the current guy and the sponsor. Okay, well, do we want to take a chance on the current guy's making his payments, right? Or is this new guy going to continue? Is he a better risk than the last guy? That's probably the biggest determining factor. Is the sponsor and the team coming together? Do we want to take a chance with these guys?
If you guys are able to come to terms on your LOI, do you have do you have your LPs lined up, or do you have what's your next step?
Next step is going and getting to see which path we're going to go, either assumption or mortgage, new mortgage. Two, we're already starting to raise money, so we're doing that. We're raising money. We have 2 different sponsors that we're talking to that can sponsor the deal, as well as carry it through there. So then we're going to look for LPs to fund the deal. So right now we're probably looking at raising somewhere, I would just say, let's say $2 million to be safe, and that kind of covers me, I think, on both sides of the deal. Either we do assumption or not. So now we're going to start, pulling that stuff together. We've already got a property manager in place, and he's given us some good estimates. So we've got that. So now the next thing is to just start talking to people and saying, hey, we got this deal, start raising money for it. And that's and it's looking like, average annual return about 13.5%. IRR right now is between 11.45 and 12%, and cash on cash right now with the mortgage in place is like 7.5%. So I know we can do it better depending on the costs with the assumption. So that's what we're looking at right now. Obviously that can change. So that's the next step, is start getting it together, talking to people, start raising some money, see where we can do it. And see, also another thing is with the sponsor, is he going to bring some money with him as well? So the two sponsors I'm talking with, that's what we're looking at as well. Once I get, that number I'm going to have to raise. Yeah. So it's been a lot of work. I've been, this whole week has been just getting this stuff. Like I said, we had a call this morning with the broker, and just setting stuff up, and then, this turn, that turn, because right now they're $130 below the market rents. And they've been that way since 2018. So we're trying to figure out what was going on. So we had the CoStar report and everything like that. So in talking to the broker today, we got a little bit more clarity as far as these guys have owned it since 2008. The property manager on site, she's good, but they don't do anything to push rents. There's no real business plan is really what it boils down to, which, is like, wow, because they're making money, right? They got comfortable and they just, hey, we've owned it. All the roofs have been changed, so we don't have to worry about that. They're redoing all the parking lot, so all the bigger stuff is done. They're brick buildings. So a lot of the stuff is done. We'll still have to go in, and we're still going to go in and redo 102 of the units that haven't been brought up to the rehab level. And that's where we're getting our CapEx. But the area is good. It's great. It's actually a B- area, which is awesome. So we're just adding all this together. So just this whole week has been just getting data and putting data together and trying to get an offer in, and try to get, moving forward, try to figure out really the biggest thing is it a property problem or is it an area problem, right? Area problems you can't fix. Like Detroit, Mark, you were talking that area there. You can't fix that without, the whole community going in. Now, a property problem you can fix easily because obviously it's mismanagement, it's, bad tenants, it's your process for evictions, all that kind of stuff that you can fix. So once we figured out that was the issue, the property, and then hearing it from the broker today that the actual property manager on staff, what they had is, to give you an insight, they have like 20% of the people on month to month, and they're paying $100 more a month just to be on month to month. Why don't they just convert them over? I don't know, but they're already paying, the base rent and then $100 over that, which gets them to market doing month to month. So I'm like, why don't they just convert them, you guys? I don't know. So it's things like that you find out and figure out and go, okay, cool. What else can you do? You start converting people, and they another funny story. I don't want to dominate here, but the pool hasn't been working since 2018 because it was too expensive to fix. And I'm like, okay, so when you Google the name of the complex, the pool with the green algae, the picture comes up, and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it's the perfect storm, really. That's really what you want when you're looking for an investment, right? You don't want the shiny penny with all the pretty people around the pool. But it was just so funny. I'm like, what are they? Well, it's just too much money. I'm like, well, if you would have taken care of it, they said it was too much money to fix, and they said also that nobody used it. And obviously, this is in Georgia, and we're not in Michigan, right? This is in Georgia, where it's probably 78, probably 90 in the summertime, but it's like you could use it all the time. So I just didn't understand that. I'm like, okay, you're telling me like nobody used it. So, yeah. but yeah, that's what we got going on now. So I'm working on that, and it's been, like I said, it's been busy. It's been a lot of phone calls, a lot of Zoom calls, trying to get the stuff,
Is it close to the area that the other one we are looking at?
Yep, actually, it is a comp for that. Yes, it is. It's about 3 miles from that property. Actually, the Magnolia Park one you're talking about is a comp for this one. So we're using that one as a comp for the reasons we're going in at the price we're going in for this one.
Okay. So what's the timeline on that? I'm sure, as you mentioned, you're going to start soliciting the, funding, over the course of time. But what's the timeline?
Right now, timeline is we're trying to get it tied up with a PSA. Right now, there's an LOI in looking, and that's at a price that didn't take into account the assumption. So the timeline is to get a PSA, or at least the LOI accepted, I would say by next week, not sooner, and then lock it up with a purchase agreement. There is other people looking at it, but the broker didn't state that there's, somebody ahead of the other, but he kind of played it close to the vest by saying, oh yeah, the people were touring the property yesterday, and a lot of tire kickers. So we're trying to get it bolted down as fast as we can. There's a call for offers on December 8th, and we're working to get that. So we're the only one that they look at, basically, for that. So I would say in the next 2 weeks, that's what I want to do, because I want to figure out which way we're going to go, assumption or new loan, and then get that in front of them and see. But even with the new loan, I already know the price range that I have to be at, right, to make it work. So that I'm not concerned with. I'm concerned, okay, if we go with the assumption, how much can I save, and stuff like that. So to answer your question, ASAP. Again, we already have a LOI in already, so I would say we get it once I talk to the lender and get all the assumption kind of stuff worked out. I would say end of this week. Next, we get a new LOI in if it changes, and then hopefully get to a PA. Hopefully they'll see the value of us meeting with the broker today in the Zoom call and ask him all these indifferent questions, and kind of, because the broker did say that we'll see if there's other offers, they'll sit down with the owner and pick the best one and all that stuff. So we've been trying to keep the broker informed as far as what we're doing. I told him who we're working with and the different things. So hopefully that'll kind of put us, let's say, more in the running that we're serious about this. I mean, we haven't visited the property yet, but I mean, that's kind of, I think, secondary, right? We got to get some kind of agreement. So as soon as possible, to answer your question, if that was a long way around, but there's a few things, there's a few pumps that I got to, levers I got to push first in doing that. But as soon as we can, let's put it that way. But they're looking, there's a call for offers on December 8th is what they're kind of looking for.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. No problem. Anybody else got anything else?
Got my deal out by Kalamazoo, the Parchment Manor.
Okay, yeah.
It's coming along pretty good.
Awesome.
So I think we finalized the numbers we're going to go with, but we're going to run it by Justin, the property manager we're working with.
Okay, cool. Cool.
And that's what at least I like a lot about it is Justin's already managing it.
Oh, okay. So it's something different for him. That's great.
Yeah. So he we already know everything we're gonna fix up. He was pretty transparent what we needed to fix, which is basically need to repair the roof, some of the exterior siding, and then there's one offline unit that we could renovate into another unit.
Oh, cool. Cool. Now, how many total units did you have?
The basic story is because of the roof, it kind of drove more above average turnover and vacancy. So Fix the roof, reduce vacancies, raise rent closer to market rent. You know.
Awesome. How many units in total is that?
41, including the offline unit.
That's awesome.
David, can I ask the property management firm that you're working with?
It's Justin Hetzman. It's MTH Property Management.
Okay.
I think that's the one we referred to you before.
Yeah, that's the one that he's got a lot of. He's based out of Southgate, I believe, right? Or Lansing.
I was Lansing.
Lansing. I'm sorry, wrong property manager. He's out of Lansing. He does all over the whole state.
And I think he invested a lot on his own too.
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. So now, you're working on the PSA right now because you're turning a letter of intent last time, right?
No, so we've got it under contract. We should have all the due diligence paperwork we requested. So now it's going through that. Got to schedule the inspection, go out there. And that was something Justin even kind of mentioned too, is again, they know everything that needs to be fixed. So the inspection should go over pretty well. And that's what's kind of nice about this between the actual broker, our mortgage broker, property management, inspector, they all have worked together before. So it should be a pretty smooth process.
That's great. Now, how long has he managed the property?
I think they've had it for 3 years.
Okay.
At least 3, let's say that.
Awesome. Now, how are you are you going to do inspecting every unit? Is the property manager going to do that? Or are you going to do that?
My plan was I would be there with the property manager and the inspector.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's only maybe 2.5 hour drive for me.
Yeah.
So there's no reason I can't be out there.
Other than the launch of a new vehicle called the Bronco.
Yeah, I can take a vacation day.
Ford can wait. Ford can wait. I'm looking for an app or something that I can use on the phone to do the due diligence by room. I'll put that to the group because when you go in and I want to inspect every unit and come up with I have checklists for everything, but it's all paper or an Excel. How I need to put together some type of thing where I can bring in a crew of people, even just something like with yours, David, is, hey, go to this website, Google Sheets, Docs, or whatever. And then each one you go in and rate, the rooms, right? In the bathroom, what does it need in the bathroom? So then you total it at the end. And I started working on that before I got involved in this, but that's what I know something's out there, and I'm one of these cheap people that I don't like to pay for stuff. So I know there's a way to do this, right? It's just finding the time to do that. Of some kind of app where somebody can go in, property manager can go in and say, okay, hallway, boom, boom. Does it need new light switches? So then at the end you can just total all that stuff up and say, okay, I need 35 new light fixtures. I need new paint on this. So you kind of rate each one, and I'm looking for something like that. I want to develop something. I would like to just kind of steal it, but if something's out there, I'll just put that out to the group because that's kind of when you're doing this kind of stuff. Yeah, you can do pad and paper, but afterwards and combining it, it just takes hours and hours and hours. If you had something where you could just walk through as a checklist, right, and say, okay, well, I need 35 new light fixtures. I need new 14 new fixtures in the bathrooms. Boom, that works into your CapEx budget expense. And you can do it that way. So that's what I'm either going to work on and try to develop. But if you guys know anything that's out there that I can kind of see how it works, that's kind of what I'm looking for. The reason I bring that up is the deal Magnolia Park in Augusta. That team, Four Oaks Capital, had something they used. And I'm still kind of talking and seeing if I can, it's something off their website, and I know you can do it. I just one, I haven't had the time to do it, and two, I'd rather, have something that I can control and not spend a ton of money on. So if you guys know anything like that out there or have ideas, I think that would be
for our later process audit at one of our plants. I made a checklist using Google Forms.
Yeah, so I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you would pick which station you would have to check, and then you'd have to answer a series of questions like, do they have their work instructions? Are they trained? Stuff like that. So off time, that's the first thing I'm thinking of is you could set it up to list that checklist you're talking about. I think you can modify it to require, like, you would take a picture of the unit. You can put in, stuff you're looking for, whatever CapEx you think you would have for that unit.
So Google Forms, that's what I was thinking too, but I don't have enough experience in Google Forms to do it, because really what I want is like a template, right? Yeah. And then you go in apartment 1A, ding, they get through all the little questions I'm asked, and then they go to the next one, and that saves it. And they go to the next one, and we have the same series of questions, how's the, wood, how's the paint, how's, and I got to come up with those questions I have in my head. But so Google Forms, okay, because that's what I need, something like that where it's basically idiot proof, right? But you're also asking the same questions for each one. So you don't have to say, oh, did you check that? Oh, no, I forgot to. Let me go back to, I forgot to check the, the fans and all those rooms. I'm sorry. I mean, you're still going to have that. So Google Forms, okay. Thank you.
It's been a couple of years since I messed with it, but it worked pretty well for us.
Okay.
I never, like, the output you get from it out of Google Forms is decent. You can modify it however you need to, but I never got that far with it. So I would have to take that output and then I modified another sheet that would kind of reorganize it so it's easier to read.
Yeah. So we have to come up with like.
It's free and it's something you can adjust on your own.
Love the free. Love the free.
Yeah, my plant manager loved the free part too.
It's not out of my budget. Awesome. Let's go with it. Well, yeah, that's, I guess there is some yes and no questions, but also, okay, let's say you have something and you give it is it, good, bad, or needs replacing? So I got to come up with that criteria, meaning, okay, so light switches, are they white? Because our color scheme would be like a gray, off-white moldings and windows, and the white covers. Well, okay, and then I got to figure out, okay, do they have a light switch? But yeah, it's cracked because the clown tightened it with a Makita and broke it, or it's the wrong color. I need to have that. So there's a lot of variations. Mm-hmm. I guess I just got to get it tagged out and see what I need to do, and then try to figure out, go to Fiverr.com and get somebody to go do it for me.
Yeah, I think you can have your standard, yes, no, or, kind of a drop down. And then you can also put in a text field to put in any notes or comments you want to put in.
Okay. All right, good. Because then I got to, take that aggregate into some kind of form that, downloads in Excel to figure, okay, how many goods I got or how many bads I've got and what unit they are. So I can say, okay, here's our CapEx budget. We need, 55 fans or no fans or, okay. But you said that on yours, you didn't get to the exporting of the data, right?
Yeah. It comes out unformatted.
Okay.
There is a way you can format it. I never got that far with it.
Okay. That's cool. Well, if anybody else knows what I'm looking for, please assist me somehow, some way. I don't know exactly. I'll probably have to, go to Fiverr or something like that and just say, hey, listen, here's what I'm looking for and get it done somewhat cheaply. But that's my next thing, is to do that where I have consistent, of the different units. So I'm not, one guy looked at this, the other guy looked at that, and, half the stuff's not right. So interesting. Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. I kind of thought that. Okay. Anybody else? Well, if you guys don't have anything, I'm going to share some stuff that I learned this week, if you don't mind. I learned a couple things. I already talked about the loan assumption. So that was one of the things that I've learned this week. And the next thing I'd like to share with you is when you guys are going out there and getting deals, and if you have a deal and trying to get a sponsor, now this is for a syndication, and or it could be for a JV, but more so a syndication than a JV. There's some questions that I found out that you should be asking the sponsor, so you can find out if they can be the sponsor on your loan. Now, what I mean by sponsor is the person that has a balance sheet and a net liquid cash and reserves, as well as a net worth to do the loan that you're looking at taking down the property with. So there's a few questions that my lender gave me that helps with that. So you can kind of qualify that sponsor to see if they're somebody that you know, they may have the net worth, they may have the liquidity, but they may not have, you know, they may have the net worth, they may not have the liquidity. And especially in multifamily, if you're going to an agency debt, they got to have 2 years of multifamily experience. So that's one thing that they look for. Now you can pool that different stuff together. Like if one person had the net worth, which is typically 10% of the loan amount that you're trying to get, you can do that and then bring liquidity in from somebody else, right? So let's say you need a liquidity of 400,000 and he's only got 100,000. You can bring that in. It just has to be in an account, right? It can't be in your stocks or your bonds. It needs to be liquid assets. So let me share that with you. And the questions. Because I thought this is pretty fascinating. When I was talking to sponsors and trying to figure out, and I don't mean not to look at you, but I have another screen here. When you're talking to sponsors, you should ask, what do you want to see in returns? Like, what are the returns you want to see on this deal? What do you typically see? And can you bring capital? Right? Can you bring some capital or all the capital needed? And how do you need to get paid for this position? Now that's key, because in a GP LP situation, it's either 80, 20, 75, 45, whatever the split is, they're going to be the majority of that. Let's say 20%. Let's say you do 80% for your investors, 20% for the GPs, right? That's a very good question. If he's looking, I need 50%. Okay, well, he's getting 50% of the 20%. So that's always good to know. What I've been told, the range is on the high end, 25%. Okay, and again, this is deal by deal, but that's what I've been able to find out, is about 25% to bring their balance sheet and stuff like that. And then the last question you ask them is, what is your net worth and liquidity? Because again, going back to the requirements of the loan, and then obviously, do you have 2 years of experience? But the liquidity and the balance sheet are the biggest thing, is the 10% of the loan amount. If the loan is going to be $4 million, they got to have 10% of that in net worth. That's what the banks are going to, and this is for agency. Now, this may differ if you're going to a local bank, but it's always good to know this stuff before you go and, try to get a loan or try to, do that kind of stuff. And again, like if you have, like Derek, you have relationships with local banks. So getting a loan for you, because you already have done it, it's probably not going to be an issue because they know you bank there, stuff like that. But like with a new loan and an agency, Fannie or Freddie,
can you shut the door?
They're going to need that kind of stuff. So I learned that this week. So I thought I'd share that with you guys, of good information, to know and to ask the sponsor, and see if they, one, have the requirements, and two, what are they going to want to sign, you know, because they're going to get the loan. They're going to get the loan. They're going to sign on the loan. You know, they're going to be, it'll probably typically be non-recourse loan debt, but they still have to come with some qualifications. Now, unless you have all that and you can do it and your loan is definitely do it. But obviously, until you get to that level, you're going to need like sponsors to help you do that stuff. But I thought that was pretty good that, because I didn't know that. I just, okay, I get a sponsor and okay, go. But you got to go out and find the sponsors. I mean, people, once you advertise a deal, people will come to you, but you want to know those questions. So one, you're not wasting your time, right? Thinking this guy is going to sign a loan or going to be able to, when, you know, he can't even, you know, hit the liquidity part. And that's no problem, but it's okay. Where am I going to get the liquidity from? Right. He doesn't have it. He can sign on a loan. He's got the 2 years experience. He has net worth, but now I got that liquidity part is part of your raise, right? You got to find that. And it's probably going to be not, you know, it has to be, again, liquid cash in a bank.
Can I ask a couple of really newbie questions to you, Pat?
Sure.
Regarding this. I guess first one, what is an agency? What's the difference between an agency and a bank?
That's a great question. Thank you very much for that. Agency debt, typically when you say agency, it's Freddie or Fannie. It's the government agencies. And that's typically what it is. It's agency debt. They've got the lower income, the longer terms, typically 25 to 30 year AMs. So that's what, when we say agency debt, that's what we mean, Freddie or Fannie Mae.
Now, are you accessing that via a bank or a mortgage broker, or are you going directly?
A mortgage broker. You would go like Old Capital, Julie on the call. She is a broker for agency debt. There's a bunch of them around here. There's a couple guys here in Detroit. But yeah.
So the conduit to access
yes.
Freddie or Fannie.
Yes. Okay. And they do Old Capital do so much business, like she said, $1 billion. They got podcasts. They've been doing it for decades. Now you can use, you know, somebody local without, but yeah, they have to be a mortgage broker that has agency experience or that connection. That's a great question.
So then when you're talking about the sponsor putting up their balance sheet essentially to, you know,
get the loan.
Not exactly sure what the term is to get the loan. If it's a non-recourse loan, what risk are they putting up? If somebody's putting up you know, their balance sheet on a non-recourse loan, are they responsible for that, I suppose? Are they like a co-signer? What is their actual role? If a sponsor didn't put in any of their own capital in, but just put in their balance sheet essentially, what's their risk? What's their exposure?
From what I know right now, nothing. But being that multifamily investing is such a small world, if they did for some reason back out, or they couldn't cause the loan to go in default because obviously we've already got the loan and we're managing, meaning the other GPs are managing. So to answer your question, there really is no risk because again, you're shooting for non-recourse debt. He's putting up his balance sheet or his net worth and asking, he signs on the loan. Yes, if something goes wrong with the whole property and you guys go back in foreclosure, we all walk away. So realistically, no, there really isn't much risk to be a sponsor.
Then why is it required? From a bank's perspective, why would they require that if there's no teeth to it?
That's a good question. I don't know any more than I've said. That's a good question, and I'll get that answer for you. There's got to be a reason. Well, one I can think of is obviously doing more as a sponsor, because the sponsor basically he has a net worth and liquidity, and that's a small piece of let's say this deal in Augusta. I got to raise $2 million. He's not going to put in $2 million. You know, let's say liquidity is $400,000 for that deal. That's all he brings, and he still makes. Well, he'll make more than the other GP people because we're not signing on the loan. But that's a great question, and I'll ask that. But that's a good question. That's the only thing I can see is that one, he wouldn't be asked to be a sponsor again, and that would, kill his earning money, because basically, really, you're putting in less effort than, let's say, myself or the other GPs,
putting in
the LPs.
Huh? It sounds like, and I'm admittedly brand new to this game.
Oh no, this is great questions. These are all great questions.
I'm just trying to get my head around it sounds like something's missing. I mean, it sounds like if that sponsor's putting up, his balance sheet is essentially saying that, yes, I have assets, but I'm not guaranteeing this loan. I don't really understand what the relationship would be. Admittedly, I mean, my experience has only been in, things that I own directly, and I own some commercial real estate directly and whatnot. And, everything I have is, got my name attached to it. And the bank always wants as much clause into as much of my resources as possible.
Yes.
So that if, this fails, that they're going to get their money back. So I'm having a hard time getting my head around. And again, I'm brand new to this and naive to this. So there very well could be reasons that I'm just not seeing yet as to why they would require that sponsor yet not have any hooks into them, I suppose.
But that's the nature of non-recourse debt. To really, and it is different than, let's say, single family, or you going down to your local bank. That's why that's what they are. That's why everybody treasures agency debt, because of that. Now, another downfall when you were talking, I see as well, is obviously there's two, Freddie and Fannie. Now, if you default or have some trouble, you cannot go back to them for a period of time, right? So let's say you get a loan, non-recourse, and most all of Freddie and Fannie's loans are non-recourse. That's just how they are. And that's why they're so prized in the industry. If for some reason something happens where you default or there is a period where you can't go back to them. It's almost like, being on Section 8 or welfare, more so Section 8 housing, where it's a kind of an honor to be on there. But if you screw up, you get things. But that's the answer to your question. And I'll find out more. That I think it's a great question. But that's the nature of non-recourse, is there is no recourse. You can turn the keys back, but again, I know that it affects you going forward. Even though something happened, you may not be able to be a sponsor with Fannie and Freddie because they don't want you for a period of 5 years, which that again, then you'd have to go back to your local banks, and it's more money, and that's the nature of non-recourse. And that's why everybody, it's so coveted if you get that, because one, the rates are a whole lot better than your local bank can do. Most times, loans over $1 million and up. Let's put it that way. And and then the term is 25 to 30-year terms, where a lot of banks, local banks, don't do that. Some do. I shouldn't say that, but that's why they do that. But those are great.
These are like federally subsidized, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, they're pseudo federal or government agencies. Yes. Yeah. And they just came out with an edict, I guess today, I think it was that I read, where they're increasing their lending because of affordable housing and the recession that we're in now. So that increases they push out more loans.
So when you're getting these, where you're providing these standards here with regards to, the liquidity standard and the balance sheets as it relates to the loan and whatnot. These are standards that are provided by Freddie and Fannie, by the agencies essentially.
Yeah, the Old Capital gave me those standards, saying this is what you need to look for when you go out and talking to sponsors.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Then that's
yeah.
that helps me understand what the because when we talked and you've mentioned that it's my experience going from bank to bank, going to different banks, is that they're all so different. But when and you've been very matter of fact, this is what we require, or this is what's required for these different products. Well, that makes sense then if they're all basically going back to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's their standard, and that's what we need to hit. So that, I guess, helps me kind of tie that all together there. So
yeah, and what I would do, anybody in the call, is I would, look up Julie Ann Peterson, and I can get the content and get it to you, and just call her up and ask her. And that's why working with a good mortgage broker that has that line right to the agency, here's what this week, this is what we need. This is what we need here. Boom. This is what we need. That's who gave it. Okay, awesome, no problem. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, that's why working with a good mortgage lender is good to know, because again, their job is to get the loan, right? She's in this to get loans and get stuff done. So the more she can give me, and then I can go back and say, okay, you got this, Mr. Sponsor. Here's what I'm needing from you. Then I can get that loan quicker. But you asked some great questions, Derek, and I will get in that. But those are awesome questions. But again, I think it's mostly and I know that there's a time frame if you do screw up with Freddie or Fannie, and I'll get that to you too. But I'm glad you asked that, because that's, having not done it or experienced it, that's one of the beauties of multifamily or this type of lending. Now, Freddie and Fannie do loan on, mobile home parks and self-storage facilities, stuff like that. So, but most of their focus is on multifamily. That's why the rates are so good. And it's typically $1 million loan and above. They do have a small balance loan that's, I think, 580 or something like that. But the rates are not as good, but they get 1 million and above is really what they look for. But that's good. That's good. But I wanted to share that with you guys. And then let me do this real quick. I want to share something with you as well. What I did is, and I'll send this to you guys. Let me share my screen. What I did is I took this information and I put it into a spreadsheet, and I call it my sponsor calculator, right? I don't know why. I'm a software guy. What can I say? So when you get a property, you can put these numbers in and see where your sponsor needs to be based off these criteria. You can change some certain things as well. So let me share that with you. And this may enlighten a little bit more as far as what I'm thinking here. Let me share this. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Hopefully you guys can. Okay. So what I did in the last couple of minutes here, and I won't keep you over 8 because I know people have got to go, but I appreciate the questions. What I did is basically take the questions, and then Julie gave me some equations to do it. And if my computer ever wakes up here. So what I did, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. So what I did is basically to figure out what a sponsor needs. Now the blue is input. So number of units you're going to go, right? Price per door, the sale price, right? Typically they start out at loan to value of 70%. So you put the 70% in there. So the loan amount, and this is an example, would be $4 million, right? That's the loan amount. So now when I go down here, my net worth needed, right? That person needs a net worth of $4 million or greater to be a sponsor on this deal, right? And now the liquidity that they need is 10% of the loan amount, or $400,000. So you can quickly figure out when you're talking to a prospective sponsor, hey, here's what I'm looking at. I've got a $5 million, $6 million, $10 million, whatever. This is what they're going to need real quickly. And in a broad brush stroke, this is where the numbers come from. And this is given from, like I said, from Julie. And then obviously they knew the 2 years experience in multifamily real estate.
Pat, is that 2-year rule? Is that, so does your sponsor need to have that? Or because you said, hey, one guy could have net worth, another person in the group could have the liquidity. Can you have it somebody, if you have an individual has that net worth and liquidity, but they don't have the 2 years in real estate, multifamily?
That's a great question. I think, and I'll ask that question, I think the gentleman or lady that's going to do the loan has to have that 2 years.
Okay.
So again, kind of going back to what Derek was, the clause, they want to make sure that, and again, I'll ask that question. Now it may be a combination, that he can sign on a loan, but, 2 other players have, 10 years of experience. But that's a good question.
Yeah. Derek, I wanted the same question you did. I mean, I think if it's not recourse, what's the point of it? But I think they want some whale in there that knows what they're doing if they're going to loan out big money. So,
well, exactly. And plus their mandate, being federal or government agencies, is to get money in the streets. I mean, I know that's what a bank's thing is, but this more so because they're federally mandated to get this stuff out there. But these are all good questions, and I'll take these back to Julie and definitely have answers for you. Next time we meet, or I'll email them. But just give a synopsis here. That's really what I came up with this week, just to get an idea of, I got a $5 million loan, the loan to value, they're going to lend me 70%. Now, going back to some of the things you said, Derek, you may get a better rate at your local bank, or they may go to 80, 85%, right? But they want recourse, right? So you got to kind of see what's better, right? What is it, the bank shorter term? Is interest rate higher? Because right now she's quoting me 3.70 for a rate for 30-year amortized, 10-year term. I don't know if I can get that at a bank, but I don't know. But that's what you got to do, is kind of look at these different idiosyncrasies and see, okay, what's going to work for you. But I'll email this to you guys as well. But I thought I'd just share that with you, and I thought that was.
When you've been talking with Julie, what has there been like loan acquisition fees that are standard for Freddie and Fannie, or like
closing costs and stuff like that?
Yeah,
closing costs and stuff like that. Closing costs, I think, probably run about 3%, but I can ask her that. Typically, it's run around 3%. Now, depending on the loan size, but I can get you that information.
So 3%, what did you call that?
Closing costs.
Okay, that would be for financing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 3%. And again, don't quote me on that, but that's what I've been hearing. But I'll get that as well.
That sounds pretty expensive relative to local banks. But then again, there's the non-recourse.
The recourse, exactly.
Lower rate.
Exactly.
So, again, like you said, it's a cost-benefit analysis.
Well, yeah, exactly, and it really is, and that's really what you got to do. Now, like someone like you, Derek, that has a relationship with a bank, maybe you just say, you know what, the next loan I'm going to do, I want non-recourse, and the bank's going to go, whoa, he got smart, and ask for it. Because I mean, not that you're not, I didn't mean it, but I'm saying is, if that's what people are used to, they just go do it, right? If you don't know there's another side of, hey, I can do non-recourse, or I'll take my business somewhere else. Hang on, we'll take this to committee. Hang on, they may want a little bit more, maybe in the bank or whatever, but non-recourse is huge. I mean, that's obviously we never plan to have, something happen, you have to give it back, but you're dealing with a $5-10 million asset. Anything can happen, right? So you got to kind of that risk reward kind of thing.
And banks don't always make sense. They really don't. I have I have a building that we personally guarantee that we're paying 5% interest on, and there's shared number. There's at least $2 million equity in the building. There's no way we're defaulting on that building. I have $250,000 of unsecured line of credit that I could, with a different business, that I could literally, just go to Hawaii and live for 6 months. It makes no sense. There's tons of risk on the, unsecured line of credit and zero security. And with the other one, there's hardly any risk, but I can't get the, any of the clause off that. So it's
what I like about this
doesn't make any sense.
Is when the light bulb goes on and you learn just one little tidbit that you can do the next deal with. Like kind of going back to when somebody told me about taking a property subject to in my residential days, I said, there's no way that somebody's going to give me their house with their loan on it. There's no way. And I did 100 of those, and they gave me between $20,000 and $50,000 to take that property off their hands. So I like that part of this business and this interaction is just, if nothing else, you take in just a little bit and go, okay, wait a minute, because the bank's not going to tell you how to get out of, all these other things. This is the book, this is the lines we're going to use. And it's, hey, listen, I'm going to do non-recourse, or you're going to lose my business. Well, wait a minute. We're all about accounts. Well, where'd you hear about this non-recourse stuff? You're going crazy. But if nothing else, if I shared that, or you can kind of investigate that, I'm happy. I mean, that's what I like, sharing this kind of stuff, because, you never know what you don't know. I don't know everything, but yeah, when I find stuff out, I'm like, wow, wait a minute. Because non-recourse is huge. I mean, that is totally huge. But we'll get that answers and stuff. But listen, I'm not going to keep you gentlemen. I want to respect your time and effort. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll get this email out to you as far as the sponsor calculator here. I'll get those answers for you. Anybody else got anything else?
Good luck, David, on your continued
yes,
progress in
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, keep us posted on that one, man. I want to see pictures. You got your drone yet? You got your drone going to be flying over, take some pictures?
Yeah, we'll have to get one.
There you go. Now it's you and your partner are taking that one down, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yep. That's great. Yeah, definitely keep us posted about that.
Oh yeah, we'll do.
Awesome. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks, and you guys have a great holiday and a good Thanksgiving. We don't talk to you before then. Have an enjoyable night, and thank you very much for joining.
All right, take it easy, guys.
We'll talk to you guys. Bye-bye.